Hey, what's going on? This is Justin at Saltstrong, and I want to show you guys a new product that we just got on our shop page, fishstrong.com. This is the Daiwa Ardito travel rod, and I'm going to show you guys some of the specs on this model. We brought in a 7'6" medium heavy. This is a 1/4 ounce to 1 ounce lure rating with an 8 to 17 pound line class. I think depending on who feels different medium heavy rods, that could be 8 to 17, it could be 10 to 20. There's really no standardization, but that's kind of a good baseline for most medium, edging on medium heavy rods. And what I want to show you guys today, be careful up top, is that the Daiwa Ardito rod is a 3-piece travel rod. We've had a lot of our members reach out to us and ask for multi-piece rods. Maybe they have smaller vehicles, maybe they're traveling quite a bit and they just want something that's a little bit easier to tote around and a little more accessible. So in looking at multi-piece rods, I was personally really impressed with advancements in modern technology. These multi-piece and 2-piece rods are pretty impressive as long as they're constructed properly and you take into consideration all the angles and the bends and the types of epoxies used. We're going to go into that in this video. But I wanted to give you guys an overview of the Ardito travel rod by Daiwa, just so you have an idea of what reels are going to match up well with it and when is the best time to use this type of rod in any type of adventure you guys go on. So we went over some of the specs. Again, this is a 7'6" medium heavy. It's a fast action and it is relatively stiff. So right off the bat, you got to keep in mind that unlike a medium or a medium light power, which inherently will feel a little bit lighter in weight, it's going to feel a little bit softer in the tip. This may still be a fast action, but because of the way that it's designed and the reinforcement on the graphite, this is going to be a pretty powerful rod. But I think that for those that are looking at a travel rod and want the versatility, in the case of needing power, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it in most situations. So I think going with a medium heavy covers more bases than, say, going with a medium light and feeling like you might not have the power to set the hook on a bigger fish or fishing around structure. I think a medium heavy would offer you as an angler a little more versatility in anywhere that you travel. So right now I have the Ardito travel rod paired up with a Daiwa Fuego 3000. For me personally, I'm a big aesthetic guy. The colors match perfectly. I think they do match up well with their Fuego series. But I would also feel comfortable popping on a BGMQ or an aluminum bodied reel like the original BG, because the backbone and power of this medium heavy might balance a little bit better with a beefier reel. So if you're the kind of person that comes down to Florida, let's say for a month out of the year, and you anticipate using any kind of live bait, cut bait, or bigger lure presentation, having something that's a little bit, it's suited more for a medium heavy, like an aluminum bodied product, would probably match up really well with this Ardito. So now I want to talk about the coolest part on this rod. And I think this is what makes travel rods so interesting nowadays, is that in order to explain what this X45 and this HVF that Daiwa has labeled here on this rod, we must first understand how rods are put together, just as kind of like a SparkNote version. So on any fishing rod, okay, fishing rods are nothing more than sheets of carbon fiber that in the sheets of the carbon fiber is this pre-impregnated epoxy or resin, okay? These sheets of carbon fiber are put on a steel mandrel and they're wrapped, unilaterally. So we have wraps that are horizontal, wraps that are vertical, and they're wrapped onto the steel mandrel. They're baked, the mandrel is removed, and voila, you have a rod blank. Now, with that in mind, if you notice closely here on the rod, it might be a little tough to see. You can see the striations and you can see the wraps going top to bottom. And underneath there's also wraps going pretty much this way, the opposite way. And when these wraps meet together, they form kind of this T pattern, all right? Traditionally, that's how most fishing rods are made. There's reinforcement across this way and across this way. So for hook setting power, for when fighting fish, you have strength, but the reality is that that's only covering so many angles on a rod. And what Daiwa's done and a lot of other manufacturers are doing is they're starting to incorporate more angles and protect more bends on the rod so that you have increased power, you have increased rigidity, and better response from your lure performance. So that kind of brings me back to what this X45 is by Daiwa. X45 by its construction essentially is, while we talked about having that top and bottom crisscross, now they're adding basically a wrap that goes at a 45-degree angle up the rod and 45-degree angle down the rod. So now there's more coverage in the graphite construction of the blank And what that's going to do is when the rod's bending, okay, rods don't always bend straight up and down. They might bend to the left, they might bend to the right. A fish is going to run you around the boat, and you're going to have twist in the rod. This X45 construction is going to prevent that twist. You're going to have more control over your fish. And at the same time, from a performance standpoint, when you cast, okay, when you're casting any rod, any traditional rod is going to have, if you watch in slow motion, a little bit of reverb. There's going to be a little bit of lag time after that cast where the rod's going to load and come back into shape. When you add this X45 construction in there, you're going to have this reinforcement and you're going to have a much crisper, faster responding blank overall. So it doesn't just improve the actual power of the rod and increase hoop strength, but by adding the rigidity here side to side, it's going to help with more accurate casts and more, I guess, punchy casts for those that are punching into the wind. It's going to be a crisper response. So I think that's really cool that Daiwa's incorporated that in a lot of their series of rods, but into a travel rod, guys. The rods that people think you're sacrificing performance for multi-piece rods, you're not going to have that issue here in the Ardito. So I think that was really cool. So guys, I want to bring up what that HVF means here by Daiwa. This actually means they're high volume fiber, okay? They have high volume fiber and super volume fiber. And the concept here really works in conjunction with that X45. The idea being that, like I mentioned, these carbon fiber sheets that are put on a rod, they're impregnated with a resin, okay, or an epoxy that hardens, and that is actually what contributes to the strength of the rod overall. Daiwa went about it a little bit differently in that instead of having more epoxy to provide strength, they've reduced the amount of epoxy or this resin used, increased the amount of fibers in their carbon fiber sheets, and for the bass fishing world out there, you know that the more carbon fiber you have in a rod, the more sensitive a rod is, but the more brittle that it might be. That's not the case with a rod that has X45 construction. Having this cross section of a wrap reinforcing the blank combined with more fibers makes the rod lighter because there's going to be less resin, makes the rod stronger and more sensitive. So you have the best of all worlds when you combine an X45 rod with their high volume fiber. Another great feature about the Ardito travel rod is that it comes with its own travel case. So this is a 3-piece system. You have kind of a hard exterior case that's got like a, I don't know, like a felt coating on the outside. And then you have sectioned areas where you can keep all 3 pieces with a foam tip protector here at the top. So for those of you guys that want to put this over your shoulder or just want something compact to travel on a plane or fit snug on the side, side door of your car, this is awesome. Sometimes you have to pay $70 or more to get a custom travel case like this. Not all 2-piece or multi-piece rods are going to come with a travel case. So that's just kind of a sleek design, just something easy for you guys and anywhere that you go. So we still want to address some of the cons in this rod that you guys need to consider if you're looking at buying the Ardito. And for some of you out there, you're immediately going to notice that this is a split grip butt section. Now, me personally, I don't mind fishing with a split grip. I've kind of always been used to it. It's really more aesthetic than anything else. It's not really reducing weight like a lot of people think. But the butt section is a little bit longer. I think from the bottom of the reel seat to the end of the butt is about 9.5 inches. A lot of rods end up being 8 to 8.5, maybe even shorter. So this longer butt section for some anglers might get in the way, might be a little uncomfortable. But again, have it, not need it, not have it. I think for those that can find the benefit of having a longer butt section, like me personally, I will rest it up underneath my forearm to where it makes contact with my elbow. But some guys that are kayak fishing in particular, they might think that the longer butt section would get in the way. So that's something to consider. So the other con that I noticed on this rod that you guys got to keep in mind is that this ferruled system, even though the design allows the bend to occur all the way through, it's inevitable that over a long period of time, I mean, we're talking years and heavy use, this ferrule and pretty much the gap in between where these joints meet together are going to get smoother over time, okay? The more that you attach and detach this rod over time, this is going to spin over a little while and it's not going to be as firm of a connection. Now that may take a while. It may take a lot of transports, a lot of put together and tear down, but over time, this connection is not going to be as straight or as rigid as a solid 1-piece rod. That's with any travel rod, but in particular with these ferrule designs, that's always going to be the case. So that's something you guys need to take into consideration before purchasing this type of rod. And that about covers it, guys. I'm personally pretty excited about the Ardito travel rod. I, like many skeptics out there, have been apprehensive to look at multi-piece rods in my fishing adventures. I felt that I was sacrificing performance for the sake of convenience. But I think today, it's 2021, coming into 2022 soon, and the technology that's put into rods nowadays kind of eliminate the challenges that these multi-piece rods had in the past. The ferrule design, the blank construction itself, I mean, even the aesthetics are modernized and up to date. It looks really great. And I think that for those out there that want a good versatile rod and need the space, this is going to be a good option to look at. So guys, if you're interested in the Ardito travel rod by Daiwa, this is a 7'6" medium heavy. We have some of them on our shop page, fishstrong.com right now. You guys got to go check it out. If you have any more questions about this rod or any other inshore rods, or what other type of reels would match up with this Ardito, or your inshore rod that you have personally, reach out to us at saltstrong.com. Comment on this video. I'd be more than happy to help answer you with any questions you guys have, and I hope to see you on the water soon. And if you're new to Salt Strong, just know that we're the best online fishing club in America, because we literally guarantee that you'll start catching more fish in less time. And we do this by providing you with premium education, an exclusive online fishing community, and huge discounts on the best tackle for saltwater anglers. So to learn more, go to saltstrong.com, and we'll see you in the Insider family soon.